This is Kendall, Hayes, Comal, Guadalupe, part of Bear, including North San Antonio and part of Travis Circle C counties. So you can see here, this is what it looks like. Up here in the north, Hayes, Kendall, Comal. We keep going south, and let's see, back up there, let me back it up. Right up there is Wimberley. Okay, so you can see part of San Antonio. It gives you an idea of what that district looks like. Our next candidate is Jack Guerra, and a major issue for Jack is the Hill Country Edwards Aquifer region of Texas, what he calls HEART, the heart of Texas. He believes our District 25 is not being represented. In baseball terms, Jack says our current state senator pitches wide and outside the box. Guerra says he will pitch for all residents of Senate District 25 and all fellow Texans as a centrist Democrat.
I love Wimberley. I love Hayes County. I know it well since a little boy swimming in the little hole. We used to rent the gumbers and cabins there off of Cypress Creek. And actually, we loved so much, my wife and I bought a very small one-bedroom cottage just off of 306 Blanket Canyon Lake. So we come out here all the things that are important to me, of course, what alluded to with the heart of Texas, is that I'm very concerned about the exploding population growth that's occurring in this region, and that how it could just ruin the hill country, the sense of the region and its landscape. I'm also very concerned about the Edwards Aquifer itself, it being built over, making sure that we protect the recharge zone and also the water quality associated with it. Also, I'm very concerned about how we fund our public schools and how we deal with property taxes. Other things I'm very concerned about are also transportation, traffic congestion, and we have a lack of choice of how we get around this region. Now, I'm from San Antonio, and there's people in this district from Austin, and they hate the traffic, right? And I bet you hate it on I-35 at times too. One of the key things I feel is part of the solution is that we can somehow gain a greater perspective of regionalism and have a commuter train that will provide economic opportunity for jobs. Because how easy for a poor kid out of San Marcos from the barrio there to jump on a train and go to community college. That's opportunity. So how easy is it for someone who can afford a house in Hayes County and then jump on a train and get a job in Austin without having to deal with traveling 2 hours each way, going back and forth. So when I try to speak about economic opportunity and opportunity, I speak of those things. Now, one thing that's, that I have, I believe, is a lot of depth of experience. Depth of experience dealing with legal issues. You know, I'm a city planner by profession. I quit 9 years ago when the kids were born. Both Steve and I have twins. Congratulations. Yeah. Oh, it's great. But the legal system, writing laws, I have experience doing that. I've worked on state levels in Massachusetts, in New York City, here in Texas. I've worked on county levels, and I've worked on local levels. So I know how things are developed. And I know, and I've read the bills that have been recently passed on relating to giving more, say, regulatory power to counties to control our growth. Thank you. I just want to say.
All right, so our first candidate for Texas State District 25 is Stephen Kling. Stephen Kling is 5th generation Texan and 4th generation combat veteran. Stephen is an IT professional, and his wife Kelsey and their twin boys live in Dripping Springs.
Hey everyone, I'm Stephen Kling. I'm running for Senate District 25. Hey boys, I see you in the back. State of Texas is looking at 25 years, a quarter century of uninterrupted, GOP rule. And as a result of that, we have the 4th highest property taxes in the United States of America. And we have the 4th worst public education system in the United States of America. That's not good return on investment. And what we're going to be facing we can already see being telegraphed by the Abbott administration is that they're going to be coming after property tax caps, claiming that they're going to be working on behalf of the Texas homeowner and the Texas small business to try to protect you from larger property taxes. Well, what we need to do is make sure that we have our counter-narrative in place, because what's really happening and what we really need is a comprehensive tax code reform. Because the way this works and the reason you pay such high property taxes and get such a terrible ROI for a bad public education system is because of the tax loopholes, like Chapter 313, for instance, that exist in our tax code that keep large companies from paying their fair share and put an undue burden on homeowners, renters, and small businesses of our communities. Now, the facts of the matter are that every other year they pass additional, what they call unfunded mandates. The state makes the education system continue to do more and more with less and less. They have been defunding our educational system now for over 30 years. It is under a multi-pronged attack. The middle class in this country and in this state is dying. And the two things that built the middle class, our public education system and organized labor, are being strangled. Companies should not be coming to our state to exploit Texas workers. That is not. That's how you entice parasites to move to your state, not good corporate citizens bringing the right kind of jobs. Now, I've been in IT technology. I've been in IT for 22 years. I graduated from Texas A&M. And we need people up there that understand, that have grown up working in information technology, just like we need anybody else. We need a diverse group working up in our legislature who understand how the information age is shaping the new jobs that are coming and displacing the jobs that are going away. Immigration is not a threat to Texas. Automation is, and we will lose 3 to 5 million jobs due to automation over the next 10 to 15 years. We need vision, not division. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Our next candidate is Jackie. Okay, again, we move now to the Q&A here portion of the forum. You have a question. If you have a question for the candidates, please come up to the microphone. For safety, we need no more than 2 questioners in the line at one time. So, do we have some questions?
There's 2 of us in line.
Okay, wonderful.
My name is Omar Baca. I am a candidate for County Commissioner spot 4 here in Hays County. And this is a future candidate for Governor Amada Baca. We're trying to teach her what a shiro is. And so our question for you is, we're thankful for you as candidates, and this resonates for all the candidates in the House. Win or lose through the primary. I loathe primary politics because it's divisive. Win or lose, how are you going to impact the blue wave? How are you going to continue and support the rest of the wave?
Okay, let's begin with Jack.
Well, certainly, back before 2016, I was on the executive leadership program for Latinos, and there were 20 of us who were put on, who were selected to be on this program. And that's working with Jeremy Bird, and so Battleground was just beginning to start. And it created a whole network of individuals who are part of Battleground. So I am still part of Battleground. I've helped people get registered, have house parties, things of that nature, and strategy parties. So I can see my role continuing in that fashion. Now, the other aspect is that I would love it for one of us to win District 25. And to get Steve there, if he's the upfront winner, I'll be sure to embrace and get the minority Latino population behind it. That it's going to be worth their vote. Like, I hear it many times. It's not going to matter, but I'll get them to vote.
So first, really? Okay. So first of all, I have a tremendous amount of respect for anyone who steps into what I call the gladiator pit of politics. And so win or lose, whoever's up here, if Jack wins this primary, I've got his back. And I'll do the same thing for him. We need to stay issue-oriented. We need to stay above the fray. The fact of the matter is, the answer is, what has my organization already been doing to continue this blue wave? And we've already been sponsoring and helping other candidates who have stepped across the line at the last minute to take on people like Kyle Biederman, for instance, to make sure that we have a Freedom Caucus, so-called Freedom Caucus person, not go unopposed. We've opened up our organization to them. At our house parties, when we have other candidates who show up, we always give them time to introduce themselves. We send emails out on our email lists to promote other candidates who've stepped into the ring as well. And so we'll continue that tradition, win or lose.
Thank you. Do we have more questions?
Good afternoon. My name is Perry Young. And Jack, I had noticed that you had introduced yourself as a centrist Democrat. I'm a little concerned with regard to the progressive centrist divide that may pose a problem. I just wonder, what do we do as a party to make sure that we don't go to our respective corners and have sort of some of the repeats that we saw in the general election with those sorts of divisions?
Okay, so the question is really about the divisions that might occur, different flavors of Democrat, and especially the issue regarding progressive, Democrat, and some of the other categories that you might hear. Let's begin with Steve.
Well, I will say this. There is nothing more important than this election. 2018 is absolutely critical for a number of reasons. We have to speak with one voice that we are not going to allow a demagogue to rise to power in this country. We need to speak with one voice that says that we are going to put aside petty differences and we are going to unify behind the things that bring us together. This isn't a left-right thing. This is an up and down thing. This is a top-bottom thing. We have 1% controlling everything in this country right now, and the middle class, as I said before, is being strangled to death. We have to focus and get behind a message of progressive values, values that are human-centric, not corporate-centric.
Well, thank you, Mr. Young, for the question. I label myself as a centrist. I think President Obama labeled himself the same, and so do a lot of politicians. And I'm a moderate. And what I mean by that is that I like to look at the entire problem, see what the demand is and what the solution is. And I think the reason why I'm running like this is because I want to address the problems of District 25. Because, when you're a senator, I can talk about, Trump all I want. I don't care about Trump. That's not my motivation. I care about District 25 and the issues that are here and the issues that belong to you for your kids, getting to and from work, economic opportunities. Now, I believe that's a kind of winning approach, a professional approach to governing that can win this election by a Democrat. As a Democrat, of course I believe in equality and justice. And so, and I also see the way of getting health care done too. I've read the bills, I can get it done.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Miguel Suazo, and it's really inspiring listening to you guys speak tonight. I really feel like this is a great time to be a Democrat in Texas in 2018. And one thing that I'd like to put out there for you, I'm also a statewide candidate. I am the Democrat running to beat George P. Bush for land commissioner. And obviously there's a lot of issues that I deal with, recovering from Hurricane Harvey and preparing for the next Harvey, defending the Alamo, all those things are important. But one of the chief roles that the land commissioner's office does is raise funds for education. And that is the nitty-gritty, thing that people don't really realize about the Land Commissioner's office. And one of the things that I'm concerned about in that role is what are our elected leaders in the legislature going to do with those funds? Because if you put in all that effort to raise that money, how are you going to ensure that it's properly stewarded if you're in the Senate?
Okay, Jack.
Money raised related to public schools? Is that what you're saying?
How are you going to make sure it's efficiently spent?
For public schools?
Yes.
Okay. Well, one of the key things that I would like to do, this is part of my background experience, it's from a management operations and funding type of approach, is what is the demand? What are the needs of each school district? And bring that to the table so you know what the demand is. What's our supply of funding? And what can we do to fund and match those demands, educational demands? So we need to earmark, especially those critical schools. And we're going to know that we're going to have a shortfall. There's always going to be a shortfall in terms of funding from the state. And how can we otherwise raise more money through other means and work in a collaborative fashion to meet those demands? Each school district has its various demands, special education, so on and so forth. I want to look at it from a management perspective and communicate with everybody, say, this is what we need, this is what we've got, here's our shortfall, let's do this and fund the rest as best we can.
So that's a big question to answer in 1 minute. The first thing we have to do, though, is get state funding restored. It's dropped from a high of 80% down to a low of now 31% in 2018. I've met many superintendents from around this District 25, including here in Wimberley. And what you'll notice is there's so much diversity, district by district. You'll see a district like Dripping Springs, for instance, is less than 8% economically disadvantaged. You go just down the road to San Marcos, where it's 53% economically disadvantaged. What we need to do is restore that funding that comes from the state by closing those loopholes, and then allow those districts to apply on an as-needed basis instead of this per-head count that doesn't make any sense and doesn't provide for special needs kids, economically disadvantaged. It is tone deaf. The system that we have in place is tone deaf to the needs, the individual and unique needs of every independent school district, and that is something I'd like to change. One last thing, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. States like Massachusetts are doing it right. Let's study those and find out what they do and do it that way.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Carricker. I am a public school educator, retired, and I am wondering how you will support our retired public school teachers, not only the ones that are currently retired, but the ones that will retire in the future by supporting a defined benefit plan for our future. Many of you may not know that most school teachers do not get Social Security. So this is what I'm concerned about. Thank you.
So one thing, as a son of 2 retired educators and a grandson of 2 retired educators, I know that teachers have not received even a cost of living increase in the last 18 years. Whatever that looks like, you can bet that I will be your advocate to make sure that it's structured in a way that is fair. And most importantly, you should be able to get Social Security survivors benefits from your spouse. I do not know why they have a system in place that takes away that benefit that your husband or your wife has been paying into their whole lives and denies it to you just simply because you're an educator in the state of Texas. There's a word for that, and I can't say it in here.
Well, related to the pension fund, which are always very tricky, is that I think we need to see which pension funds are performing and how are they structured. I know Texas Municipal League does a very good job with that, and there's sort of no loss expectation there from former municipal workers. Now, teachers, there is a problem, and we need to make sure that we have the best people working for the pension fund. And gosh, I hate it when we invest in the stock market and mutual funds of that nature. But I think, we need to have a good, stable portfolio of investment from that pension fund and make sure that they're not taking any high-risk investments.
All right, another question.
My name is Linda Nichols. I hear all this about the explosion in housing growth and the problems that it's causing, but where would these people live if we cut the housing growth? Where are they supposed to live? How are we supposed to handle that?
Jack, the question is, how are we going to handle the growth in housing, or the need for housing, but we don't have enough housing?
Something like that.
Something like that, okay?
Well, there is a huge market demand for more housing and new housing, and the Austin market is very much more unaffordable than San Antonio's. But if you look at housing experts and developers, they look at it as an overall housing market in a region. And from my experience of seeing how to control and direct growth, not provide the housing, but let's provide it on areas that are less environmentally sensitive. Let's build our roads in those locations. I have seen through work with metropolitan planning organizations, partnerships between Fort Worth and Dallas, where they created the North Texas Council of Governments, where they plan the roads and direct growth to go there. So you see that there's new housing. Look at Plano, look at Fresno, look at Grapevine. All that was nothing back in the 1970s. I want to keep it out of the hill country and the aquifer area and direct it more towards that direction. And plus, when you do it that way, you can also control flooding much more better.
So there's a few points I'd make there. One is that it speaks to the idea of being what a senator does, and that is that we have influence all over the state. So there's a few things that can happen. My job is to be most intimately familiar with my district, so that I can serve the needs of this district the most. But there is absolutely no reason why we can't have broadband programs, for instance. We can't create more infrastructure in other districts so that they can grow and take some of the pressure off of us. This is something that we don't talk enough about. There's a great example of that. The Perot's built an industrial airport northwest of Dallas-Fort Worth about 25 years ago. They created an industrial zone up there. We can use funds and incentivize folks to create industry outside of the hill country and relieve some of that pressure. And that's one thing that a state senator can do that can influence here by helping others in other districts as well.
Thank you. Well, that concludes the Q&A portion for Texas Senate District 25 candidates. Steve, Jack, please exit to my left. And we're ready now for, let's give a big hand